Okay, so we're going to create a drawing of a front view and a side view of a person. You can take a picture of yourself or a model and then draw over that and then create the front and side view. You see here in the drawing the top of the head, bottom of the feet, the knees, they line up with the side view. So when I go to export these, I'll save it as, I don't know, a PNG or something like that. I'll save it to my 3D Max Week 4 character modeling scene assets and images. That way when I go to place them, they'll be right there. So we went over how to place this stuff. You basically want to create a new file that's square. In video games they like 1024 by 1024. So let's start with my clipboard here. I'll create one and just make sure that the image size is a nice size. This is big, but we'll make it smaller, 1024 by 1024. And then paste in your image. So here's my image, a little bit big, so I can scale it down and make sure it's just the right size. And then we can go to view rulers, view rulers right here, and drag some lines out, so middle of the body, knees, shoulders, top of the head, all that stuff, bottom of the chin. The usual stuff is all bottom of the foot is all there, so when you line it up like I did in this other picture, you see that I tried to line up the eyes, the top of the nose, and it's hard to do. You have to get your model or yourself to make the exact same pose in the front view and the side view. This is best done with 2 cameras simultaneously, but obviously not everyone has that luxury. Alright, so once you're done here and everything's all lined up, make sure you scaled everything, didn't stretch anything, make it look weird. You want it to look as natural as possible. You go into Max and you go to create a plane, and you want to create a plane that has the same size. And I just made an 8-foot plane, which I know is a little big, so maybe, how about 72, 6 foot. So 6 by 6, 72 by 72. And then I assigned, and then I used the snap tool to put it into the middle. And then I did it another one going the other direction, and I named them front view and side view, or something along those lines. So, for example, here's my side plane and here's my front plane, as you see. And then I placed the images on there, and I did that by going to the material editor. And I created a new standard material. I'll call this front view test, and I'm going to turn up the self-illumination, and you'll understand why in a minute. It just doesn't look right if you don't. And then I clicked on diffuse color, bitmap, and then it asked me, well, which bitmap do you want to use? And I'll say this guy. And then, like I said, you create a plane. Make sure the plane is the same size, so 72, 6 feet by 6 feet. And then, once that guy's done, I'm going to assign it to my material here. Turn on show view and viewport. So there he is. Oops. And then I move him into the middle of the screen. Now I'm not going to use this guy, I'm going to use this other one I created. But that's how you do it. And now in my 3D view, you see I have these 2 planes that kind of sort of line up. You see it's pretty close. If you didn't follow my advice, you'll have a terrible time because, well, you see it's already kind of not, well, that's pretty close. If the belt is a little bit off, that could be bad, but let's just pretend it's perfect for now. Okay? So I did that for the front and the side, and I have all my files saved, my textures labeled. And now we're going to create the body. And to do that, you're just using a basic box. And say in the front view, I still have my 3D snap on. I'm going to create a box, big box, okay? And you're saying, wait, you know, how do we make a body out of a box? Well, let me show you. So first things first, if you notice this box is in the center of the screen. This is a computer, and computers love to copy things, right? So we only have to make half the body because we want to duplicate it to the other side. So to do that, I'm going to edit my mesh. Actually, edit my poly. I'm going to choose these points here, these points on this side, and I'm just going to snap them, boom, right to the middle. Okay. So you see, my box is on just one side here, one side of the screen, and there it is. And it doesn't really matter. Well, actually, no, it does. Let's do this the other direction. So that's my center of my box. And you see here, the box is about the size of the body. Now we're just going to extrude this up to make the shoulder. So when you're in Edit Poly, you have these selections here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on your keyboard. I'm using 4 to select the top of the box. As you see, it turns red. Then you go to extrude that up, and a little dialog box comes up. And I just pull that up to the top of the shoulder. I don't know why this is not totally popping up. Standard, 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 standard. Why is this view disabled? Anyway. So let's extrude this up to the top of the shoulder. And then we'll extrude this arm. Oops. Say OK. And we'll select this side panel. And I'm just going to extrude that out. Now, I know you're thinking, wait, your arm is all screwed up. That's true. It is. But we're about to fix all that. So let's extrude this out. And you're saying, wait, this isn't right at all. And you're right, it's not. It doesn't look good. So how do we fix that? Well, we go into our vertex. This is another way of selecting points. Grab this point. Pull this down. Oh, and we have our snap on. Let's turn that off. Pull this one down. Grab these two. Let's pull these down into my arm. And you can see here I can start to pull things into place. Okay. Now we want to make sure, remember I said that we were going to duplicate everything. We want to keep this on this line, okay? So it should look a little bit like a t-shirt. Now we're going to continue down and look in the side view. How awful. Well, what do we do here? We have to actually start to conform these polygons to the basic shape of the body now. To about there. Looks like we're going to have a problem. We want to have this above the waist. And we'll ignore that big fat belly. All right, we want to have, there we go. Maybe a little bit. There we go. Okay, and now we're going to go down to the bottom here. And you see how things start to get distorted if you don't pay attention. You pull these together here. Okay. All right. So now we're going to grab the end of this. Is that 5? So 5 is our, grab this end of the arm here, and I'm going to extrude that down to the end of the hand. And not the end of the hand, the beginning of the hand, the wrist. So about there. And say OK, and then We're going to go to vertex points, and again, sort of move this into position here. And then we'll grab the end of this, extrude that out into the hand. So again, extrude, say OK, and we notice that it is a little bit tall. So I'm going to make it skinny. And say, oh, it's not really facing the right way. And now we're going to extrude out the leg. So grab this bottom piece, extrude that down from there to about there. You use Alt W to zoom in to one particular window. Use Alt middle mouse button to pan around like this. Use the wheel or the middle mouse button to zoom in and out. And I'm just going to pull this down to about there. Now I'm looking in this view, and I'm looking in this view. Now I'm going to go to this, grab this guy, this point. I'm going to say OK. Extrude this guy down, say OK. And then grab these points, pull this back a bit, up a bit. You see where we're going with this? There we go. Pull this in. Now, once we hit this, the split in the legs, the crotch, we're going to start to pull away from this edge, but we'll keep this median line. So we'll go to extrude down, and we want to extrude down to about the top of the knee. Say OK. Extrude again to the bottom of the cap of the knee cap. You want to have two separate, oh Lord, front. Z on your keyboard to zoom into what you want to do. And we don't want to zoom up that far. We want to go to about where the bottom of the knee is. Say OK. Switch to vertex mode. And now we can start to pull this apart a little bit. Pull this apart a little bit. And unfortunately, the feet together, that's not good. We're going to pretend that the feet are more farther apart. I'll get to why that is in a little bit. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. There we go. You want to have the feet a little farther apart. Just how the arms are in this sort of angel pose. Like, think about making a snow angel in the snow, or a sand angel if you're southern and you've never seen snow before. You go to the beach and make a sand angel, or if you go in the snow up north and the snow make a snow angel. You want your arms spread out and your legs spread apart, because once we rig this, you want to have any limb very far apart. Just like when we model the hands will be, the fingers will be spread apart from each other. You don't want anything touching each other. You want to have things as far apart as possible. So we say that's good, and then we want to extrude again. Pull that down to the ankle here. And let's say OK. Go to our vertexes, grab our point, taper this down a little bit. Very cool. And hit Alt W, go into the side mode. And now you see that, it's our right view. We've lost our leg because this was touching the plane and this was not. Remember, we moved it over. So we're going to switch from our right view to our left view. Now you can see that our vertexes got a little skewed, so let's move these out. Have a shape, let's make more of a shape to a leg here. Right here. Sometimes you will get to the point where we'll add more detail, like a few more lines of polygons in here, but in the beginning you really want to keep it lean as possible. And the reason for that is just things get so complex so quickly. It's just not worth it. Long story short, you want to keep things as lean as possible for as long as possible. All right, so now let's go back to our view here. I'll have to spin this around. And we're going to just extrude this one last time for the foot. Now, if you look in this side view over here, see, we don't have to extrude very far for this last little bit. Say OK. And then go into our front view. And I'm going to have to hide this front plane for a second here to grab the front of what's going to be the foot and extrude that out. See this in this view. And we'll extrude that out to the end here. Say OK. Go to vertex. Grab this point. Pull it down for the foot. Grab this. That's about right. And if we really want to go a little, here's a little extra detail. We could extrude the heel of the heel of the shoe. Then go back to our vertex mode. Tap that toe on the ground. Bring this down. Bring this up a little bit. You know what? I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to bring this one down to it. There we go. Okay. And it's a pretty basic model, I know, but that's part of it, right? Okay, let's turn this front plane back on. Let's go up to the top of the head. There it is. Zoom in on that. And what we have to do here is we're going to extrude up. If you notice here, we've lost our angle. So warning, warning, Will Rogers. We'll have to fix that in a second. Say OK. And like I said, you want to keep that as far as you can go. Keep this along this edge as far as you can go. And the best way to do that is grab these points using this 3D snap tool. Snap it here. Snap it back. Turn off the snap tool, move it down into position. This one you don't have to worry about so much. And there is the beginning of our neck. I want to make sure that this neck starts right about here. From there, grab that one piece, extrude that up. Not so high, it's not a giraffe, just a little bit of a neck. Okay. There's the neck, and then we can extrude one more time and create just a very basic head, which I can extrude up once, and then extrude up again. And I know what you're thinking, that head is way too tiny. Don't worry, we can always edit the vertexes. Okay. Now if you look in the side view, you'll also find that not much dimension in the face here. We will get to that at a later date. But for today, that's all we need just to get started. Okay. So I just pulled those in a little bit. Again, very basic, very, very basic. but just enough to get started for your first character. Let's turn this plane off, side plane. Okay, and now we're done with that. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, make sure every time we do a project, make sure you set your project folder. I've already done that here. I made sure that we are set to project week 4, okay? So before you go to save, make sure that you set your project. I'm going to call this polygon character 1. And then we're going to go to mirror. Under M for mirror. Make a copy of that. And if we had not stayed true to the line, you see how this mirrors right across the center? If your model has strayed a little bit across this line, like I mentioned several times, this will not turn out to be a good thing. This will not look great. But, not that mine looks that fantastic, but at least the line is split. We got a nice boxy butt. And a sort of hood over the top of his head look to his face. If we went back and grabbed this point, for example, or this point, and still modify and edit our character. If you see here, if I go back into my edit vertex, my mirror stays true. Okay? Oh, and by the way, don't do what I just did, because you'll ruin your model. All right, very good. Have at it, folks.